Welcome to the Texas Department of Transportation Pharr District's public meeting for the State Loop 195 Extension and Connector Feasibility Study between Rio Grande City and I-69C US 281 north of Edinburg in Starr and Hidalgo Counties, Texas. For the purpose of this presentation, we will refer to the study as the Feasibility Study, and State Loop 195 will be referred to as SL 195. We appreciate your interest in this feasibility study and thank you for your participation. This is a pre-recorded presentation made available online on Tuesday, December 16, 2025 at 5 p.m. During the online virtual meeting, you may pause the presentation and navigate forward or backward using your video player. The meeting presentation will be available for online viewing with an opportunity to provide comments until Monday, January 12, 2026. Because safety is a priority at TxDOT, we begin each meeting with a safety minute. Today, we will highlight TxDOT's new safety campaign, Drive Like a Texan.
No matter where we start, every mile brings us closer. And as Texans, we take care of each other along the way. We lend a hand, slow down, and take our time. At the end of the day, we all want to get home safe. Drive like a Texan. Kind, courteous, and safe.
We will begin with an overview of the public meeting and feasibility study, followed by the project need and purpose. We will then look at the intended benefits of the SL 195 extension and connector, explain the route options and planning scenarios, and discuss the engineering, environmental, and safety and traffic performance evaluation results. Finally, we will explain the next steps following this public meeting and the various ways you can provide input. Let's begin with the purpose of this public meeting, which includes introducing the feasibility study, reviewing the proposed improvements, and sharing information on how you can provide comments. You are encouraged to share this information with others so they can also provide comments. The feasibility study limits extend between FM 3167 and I-69C US 281 in the western portion of the Rio Grande Valley. SL 195 between Roma and Rio Grande City, shown in maroon, has one section under construction and a second and third sections under development. TxDOT is proposing an SL 195 extension and connector to further extend SL 195 east in the western Rio Grande Valley and to complete the SL 195 Roma-Rio Grande City relief route, respectively. The feasibility study is intended to establish the purpose and need for extending SL 195 further east to I-69C and US 281 north of Edinburg and completing the SL 195 Roma-Rio Grande City relief route to US 83. Identify key environmental factors that could affect where the SL 195 extension and connector are built. Develop and evaluate route options to identify which ones should move forward for more detailed design and environmental study, and engage and receive input from stakeholders and the public. The feasibility study is in the initial phase of the project development process. This feasibility study will identify and evaluate route options for the SL 195 extension and connector that meet the project purpose and need, minimize potential impacts, and reflect stakeholder and public input. Should TxDOT decide to move forward with one or more extension and connector route options, a multi-year process will begin. All phases of the project development include additional opportunities for public involvement. Advancement from step to step is contingent upon the outcome of the previous step and the availability of funding. The schedule for construction has not been developed at this time. This timeline represents the best-case scenario and is subject to change. Now, let's focus on the feasibility study. The timeline shown includes study milestones. Following these public meetings, TxDOT will finalize the results of the feasibility study and move forward into the environmental study and schematic design phase as funding becomes available. The feasibility study is expected to be completed in summer 2026. Please note that this schedule is subject to change. As we transition from understanding the feasibility study objectives, location, and timeline, it's important to clarify why the SL 195 extension and connector are needed and review their purpose. The overall needs identified in the study area relate to safety, mobility, accessibility, and connectivity, speed, network redundancy and resiliency, and emergency evacuation. Let's start with safety. Safety concerns exist along US 83 between Rio Grande City and La Jolla and I-2 in the western Rio Grande Valley. These safety conditions are expected to worsen if no improvements are made. From 2019 to 2023, more than 10,000 crashes occurred along these roadways, and nearly 3,000, or about 29%, resulted in injuries or fatalities. In urban areas along US 83 in Rio Grande City and along the I-2 frontage roads, crashes are often linked to traffic congestion and driver mistakes, especially where there are many driveways or unsignalized intersections. In the rural areas along US 83, crashes tend to happen when drivers misjudge oncoming vehicle speeds, run red lights or stop signs, or follow too closely. All these factors create a mixture of fast-moving through traffic and slower local traffic. This speed difference makes it harder for drivers to react quickly and increases the risk of crashes, leading to higher than average crash rates compared to the rest of the state. The US 83 and I-2 corridor is the principal east-west route on the Texas Highway Freight Network serving the western Rio Grande Valley. This important corridor has traffic bottlenecks, congestion, reduced speed limits, and signalized and non-signalized intersections that adversely impact through traffic mobility, regional and local accessibility and connectivity, freight movements, border crossing connectivity, and emergency response times. A traffic study for the US 83 and I-2 corridor was conducted to evaluate the current and future levels of congestion. Level of service was used to measure the amount of congestion based on a letter grading system A through F. A means traffic moves freely, and F means severe congestion. On US 83, congestion is mainly around Rio Grande City. By 2060, the eastbound lanes are expected to reach a level of service F throughout the morning rush hour. On I-2, congestion will be worse at the signalized intersections along the frontage roads. By 2060, about 90% of those intersections are forecasted to operate at level of service E or F both morning and evening. On the I-2 main lanes, the number of roadway segments rated level of service E or F is expected to rise from 8% in 2023 to over 20% by 2060 in both directions. Worsening congestion affects more than just commute times. It directly impacts regional and local travel, freight and commercial deliveries, border crossing connectivity, and emergency response times. According to speed data collected for 2023, the speed characteristics along US 83 and I-2 contrast with what would be expected on a high-speed corridor on the Texas Highway Freight Network. For instance, as shown in this graphic, travel speeds along US 83 and I-2 are inconsistent, which makes it hard for drivers, especially freight haulers, to predict how long a trip will take. This reduces travel time reliability, an important factor for moving freight efficiently. On average, traffic speeds stay below 60 miles per hour all day, and during rush hours, they drop below 55 miles per hour across much of the corridor. The lower speeds are likely caused by congestion, especially around Rio Grande City on US 83 and along I-2, and its frontage roads in the McAllen metropolitan area. Should an emergency, flooding, or closure disrupt the flow of traffic on US 83 or I-2, there are no other major east-west highways in the western Rio Grande Valley to move traffic, freight, or international trade. Furthermore, emergency responders who rely on US 83 and I-2 could face serious delays reaching residents and travelers during critical situations. Because of this, the region currently lacks network redundancy and system resiliency, which means that if US 83 or I-2 are shut down, east-west travel in the western Rio Grande Valley could come to a standstill and take a long time to recover, thereby affecting freight, transportation, and disrupting international trade along the border. US 83 and I-2 function in tandem as a major hurricane evacuation route, connecting coastal areas and the Rio Grande Valley population centers to inland destinations. Several maritime ports also link to this evacuation route. Current and future traffic congestion, especially around Rio Grande City on US 83 and along I-2 in the McAllen metropolitan area, create bottlenecks that slow evacuation traffic. These delays could impact the safe and timely evacuation of about 1.4 million residents and tourists who depend on this route during hurricanes and other emergencies. The project purpose is to bring essential transportation improvements to the western portion of the Rio Grande Valley between Rio Grande City and the Edinburg-McAllen metropolitan areas that will enhance local and regional safety and mobility while also making hurricane evacuations faster and safer. Support freight movement in the western Rio Grande Valley by developing new east-west high-speed routes that will complement US 83 and I-2 on the Texas Highway Freight Network. Relieve congestion and provide drivers with reliable, high-speed options to US 83 and I-2 that maintain the east-west flow of traffic in the event of an emergency or closure. And finally, support future regional economic development plans. What are the intended benefits of the SL 195 extension and connector? The SL 195 extension and connector are being developed to meet interstate standards and work together to create a new high-speed freeway from Rio Grande City to I-69C and US 281 north of Edinburg, as well as complete the Roma Rio Grande City relief route to US 83 east of Rio Grande City. The key safety benefits of providing modern high-speed east-west freeways that meet interstate standards include wider lanes and shoulders, giving drivers more room and better visibility, wide medians, which lower the risk of head-on collisions, overpasses and underpasses, which eliminate conflicts at intersections, driveways, and railroad crossings, controlled access, allowing vehicles to enter and exit the freeway more safely, gentler curves and slopes, improving visibility, especially at night or in severe weather, and better drainage design, which reduces the risk of hydroplaning. Extending SL 195 east to I-69C and US 281 will bring several major benefits to the western Rio Grande Valley. The new route will improve east-west traffic flow. This will also lower the number of congestion-related crashes on US 83. The extension will make it easier to reach Edinburg and connect with the broader McAllen area from the west, supporting local and regional economic growth. The new freeway will strengthen the Texas Highway Freight Network by improving travel time reliability, regional connectivity, and access to international border crossings, helping meet the needs of freight carriers and trade partners. Also, in case of emergencies, flooding, or road closures on US 83, the extension will offer a high-speed alternative route, keeping traffic and goods moving safely. By separating fast-moving through traffic and heavy trucks from local traffic, the extension will improve driver reaction time, lowering the risk of high-speed crashes. Development of the SL 195 connector will complete the Roma-Rio Grande City relief route, thereby allowing through traffic to avoid the densely developed areas of Rio Grande City. This new route will reduce congestion and increase travel time reliability along US 83, a key freight mobility consideration. Improve quality of life for residents by cutting down on emissions, noise, and heavy truck traffic in the heart of Rio Grande City. Improve safety by reducing the amount of through traffic and lowering the risk of intersection, pedestrian, and cyclist crashes in the city. Enhance local mobility and accessibility, helping people and goods move more easily within and around Rio Grande City, and support future economic growth and development throughout the region. As we move forward, the focus now shifts to presenting the SL 195 extension and connector route options that are proposed to work together to serve the existing and future travel needs in the western Rio Grande Valley. There are north, central, and south SL 195 connector route options. These three connector route options overlap as they approach US 83. The SL 195 connector would complete the SL 195 Roma-Rio Grande City relief route to US 83. There are also north, central, and south SL 195 extension route options. The eastern portion of the three extension route options overlap as they approach I-69C and US 281. As previously discussed, the SL 195 extension would provide a new freeway from Rio Grande City to I-69C and US 281 north of Edinburg. Both the extension and connector route option development involved meeting interstate design standards, avoiding and minimizing impacts to residences, businesses, communities, and environmental features while keeping costs reasonable, and coordinating with regional and local leaders, including elected officials, regional planning representatives, and transportation entities to gather local needs and concerns. The combination of the three extension and three connector route options form 9 planning scenarios. They are being evaluated individually to determine which ones best meet the project's purpose and need, have the greatest opportunity to minimize impacts to the natural and human environments, and also take into consideration stakeholder and public feedback. The SL 195 extension and connector will likely be developed in phases over time. The ultimate phase typical section would include 2 main lanes in each direction, each with paved shoulders, a wide grassy median, one-way frontage roads in each direction to provide access to local streets and properties, a wider westbound main lane shoulder to accommodate hurricane evacuation traffic, and space for shared use paths between the frontage roads and the edge of the proposed right-of-way, allowing for pedestrian and bicycle use. The typical section would require up to 450 feet of right-of-way width. An interim phase typical section may include the acquisition of the full 450-foot right-of-way to accommodate the ultimate phase freeway. Then, 2-lane frontage roads with shoulders are anticipated to be built first as funding becomes available. During this interim phase, the frontage roads would have at-grade intersections with local roadways. These intersections may be signalized or stop-controlled depending on traffic needs. Shared use paths for pedestrians and cyclists could also be added. This phased approach allows the project to improve mobility and safety sooner while planning for future expansion as additional funding becomes available. An evaluation matrix has been prepared to present the evaluation results for the 9 planning scenarios. The engineering, traffic, and environmental evaluation matrix is being used to help identify the SL 195 extension and connector planning scenarios that provide the best balance in minimizing displacements and potential environmental impacts, serve the greatest number of trips and improve travel times, and have the most reasonable cost. Please closely review this evaluation matrix in combination with the display maps presenting the 9 planning scenarios to assist TxDOT in identifying the planning scenario or scenarios that provide the best balance. Please let us know your opinions about these planning scenarios and the reasons for your opinions by filling out the meeting questionnaire. Please see the exhibit board file for the evaluation matrix you can see in greater detail. Predicted crash frequencies in 2060, an important performance measure for safety, was also analyzed in the study. TxDOT recognizes that all vehicle crashes are of concern as they have a physical, financial, and emotional impact on people's lives. As such, a safety evaluation was conducted to predict which SL-195 planning scenarios may have the greatest impact in reducing annual crash frequencies along US 83 and I-2 within the study area in 2060. Please closely review this safety evaluation matrix as you make your assessment regarding the effectiveness of the 9 planning scenarios and how they function to improve safety. Let us know your opinion by filling out the questionnaire. Please see the exhibit board file for the evaluation matrix you can see in greater detail. Moving forward, TxDOT will review and respond to comments received during the public meeting comment period. They will also identify the SL-195 extension and connector planning scenarios to be advanced or dismissed based on the results of the engineering, traffic, environmental, and safety evaluations, as well as stakeholder and public feedback. In addition, they will complete the SL-195 Extension and Connector Feasibility Study report and post it on www.txdot.gov for public review. And they will use the findings from the feasibility study to begin the environmental study and schematic design phase as funding becomes available. Each phase of project development will include additional opportunities for stakeholder and public involvement. The proposed phase transportation improvements may be further developed and advanced as multiple independent projects with unique schedules as funding becomes available. However, no decisions have been made regarding the development of independent projects at this time. Your feedback is important to TxDOT. To be included in the official study documentation, all comments must be received or postmarked by Monday, January the 12th, 2026. Comments may be provided in person at the public meetings, by email sent to PHR_SL195_extension@txdot.gov, by postal mail sent to the TxDOT Pharr District, attention Edward Paradise Jr., 600 West Interstate 2, Pharr, Texas 78577, or online at www.txdot.gov, keyword search SL-195 Feasibility Study, and completing the online comment form. Following the comment period, the project team will review all comments received and prepare responses. Responses will be available online at www.txdot.gov once they have been prepared. Thank you for participating in the SL-195 Extension and Connector Feasibility Study online public meeting with in-person options. This concludes our presentation. We encourage you to review the other project meeting materials available on the project website.